into the room. I would ask you now to go ahead and silence your cell phone. Anything that beeps or squeaks or makes a noise, please turn it off at this time.
There's no parking places. There's no parking places. I park on the side.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good idea. Let's do some housekeeping. As I say, does everyone know where the restrooms are? This room is crowded. I hope Chief Talbot doesn't show up because I believe we're probably over capacity in this room. So I would ask you, if you need to get up and leave, be respectful of the people around you. And that being said, this is a quasi-judicial matter. So I would ask you to, as my mama used to tell me, mind your manners at all times. Let's have no clapping. Let's have no booing and hooing and that sort of thing. This is a matter for, we all need to hear what the person is saying that is up at the podium, and we all need to be respectful of each other. So if you would remember the rules you learned in the sandbox, I would appreciate it very much. So we're going to adhere as strictly to the time as we can. Of course, now we're being altered a little because of the court reporter. But we have a kind of a strict agenda because of the time, so we will try to adhere to that as much as possible.
Okay, anyone who anticipates testifying or giving statements to the board today in this quasi-judicial hearing, would you please go ahead and let's stand, have you stand and raise your right hand, and we will swear all of you, or as many of you as possible, I suppose, at one time. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony that you're about to give before this board will be the truth? I do. Thank you. We also do us a couple of other favors. One, when you come to the podium, if you would, say your name. Also, spell your last name. It helps us create and keep a clean record. Last names can get tricky. Also, as Commissioner Commander said, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. We've had complaints in the past at large hearings like this that there's murmuring in the crowd. Go ahead. And folks in the crowd and applicants and objectors and people at the tables are unable to hear testimony. So no murmuring in the crowd. This room has some really odd acoustics sometimes, and sometimes we can and sometimes we can't hear that murmuring up here, and it makes it difficult for us to hear. And we're here for, looks like a pretty good while, so we would like for not have to stop and calm things. So please keep murmuring to a minimum. Also, we do have a court reporter. I'm protective of court reporters because I work with them every day. There's a couple of things you need to know. They're going to take down everything that is said that they hear, and it's imperative that they take down everything that is said. So if someone is talking, do not interrupt them. That will create my wrath quicker than anything else, because she, as good as she is, and she'll correct my grammar and do all those wonderful things that court reporters do, she can't take two people talking at the same time. She doesn't have 20 fingers, she only has 10. So please, one at a time.
I have a question. Are there chairs set up in any of the other rooms
Yes.
out there for folks who do not fit in this room?
Yes, ma'am. There's some I know in the other office and there in the side offices. Yes, ma'am. I had one more thing. Oh, yeah. We are going to try to stick to the time periods as quickly as possible, not trying to be harsh, but we have another hearing tonight at 6 o'clock in this room. So we need to get through the testimony and get finished. Other than that, I think we have two items on the agenda. One's an E2 change, one's an NOPC. They are somewhat, if not completely, intertwined, and it's the applicant's desire, and I have no reason not to grant the desire to let them essentially consider or present testimony, consider both at the same time. That way we don't have to stop and start two different items. With that, that's all the announcements I have, and the court reporter is almost done swearing or setting up. And Mr. Enfield's going to have an announcement. We're going to wait till the court reporter gets done.
She said it. Did everyone see the agenda? Do you know kind of how we're proceeding?
Yes. Sure.
Don't you love it when you're the center of attention?
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. We're here on the Sandestin Investment Incorporated request for an E2 change and for a notice of proposed change. I have previously sworn all the witnesses we anticipate testifying, and I believe Mr. Enfield has an announcement.
Madam Chair, I have a business conflict with regard to this. I have filed the appropriate Form 8B with the clerk, and I'm going to have to recuse myself from this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chairman.
Me and my eyeballs. We have the applicant first. You have 2 hours to present your facts and your statements into to the record. So with that, and make a note, we are starting at 8:40 instead of 8:30. Okay. Yes, Mark. If you have any ex parte.
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you need to give them to the clerk either now or whenever you get a chance, please.
And if you have had, if you have had ex parte contacts, would any of those ex parte contacts prevent you from rendering a fair and impartial decision today?
No, and I've I did too, but
All have been filed, and no one's prevented from rendering a fair and impartial
can I
decision.
make a statement before Sega? Can I make a statement? We received a letter from DOT, I believe yesterday or sometime this week. DOT has stated that the traffic analysis that they submitted, the 2-page, is not adequate, and that they suggest that they get together with Walton County and FDOT to put together a more valid traffic analysis. I don't know how we can vote on anything or even spend our time listening to argument about all this if we do not have adequate traffic analysis. To me, that comes first. I would move that we continue this until they get traffic an analysis that DOT and Walton County signs off on. That's my motion.
We'll need a second.
I'll second it for discussion. That was one thing I brought up before at the previous hearing, is whether or not we have had done a true traffic analysis of this additional impact upon 98. I have some concerns about internally the amount of congestion or impact it will have. And I would think Mr. Matthews explained to me that wasn't my dog in the hunt, so to speak, but I think it does have an impact upon 98 and the number of trips that's going from both sides of the road onto there. So that's just my thoughts.
And I just add that, to make a decision of this magnitude, I want all the information I can get as well. So I concur with Commissioner Meadows that I would like to get as much information as possible.
And I also agree, I think we need the traffic study, but we have, I look at this room, we have so many people here, we have all the attorneys, the applicant, to go ahead and take and listen to them and then not make a decision today, wait until we do get a traffic study and then come back to me, because as I say, we're going to have to hear it either today or we're going to have to hear it another time, but I definitely want the traffic study, but I think we can get as much accomplished today as we can and then bring the traffic study in once it's done.
Well, the thing about that is that without the traffic numbers, you're not going to have any idea what kind of impacts they're proposing. And in my opinion, it is a waste of our time to sit here all day and listen to proposals that can't meet traffic concurrency. And so I just see it as, I would rather have all the information on the traffic, and then you can back into what can be approved out there. And it may be very simple.
And Commissioners, I think because this is a motion that would impact these folks, we probably need to hear from the applicant and the staff regarding the motion, just so they can make a quick argument.
Mr. Matthews?
Yeah, Mr. Matthews.
Dana Matthews for the applicant, Sandestin Investments, LLC. A few comments about the motion. First of all, we have two different applications that are pending before the county. First one, as Mr. Davis said, is what we call an E2 change. There's no traffic analysis required for this commission to determine an E2 change. And in fact, it's determined by statute to be a non-substantial deviation if the text change to a map. The second application that we filed, the NOPC, has two parts to it. One is what we call E1 changes, which are the 17 land use adjustments that have been identified in the application. And then the second part of it is a notice of proposed change, which deals with exhibits B through G in your notebooks. There's no traffic analysis required for the E1 changes, in our opinion, dealing with the land use adjustments. And you could, I presume, ask for one on the balance of the NOPC B through G exhibit. However, it's important to understand what the law is on traffic analysis. The exhibits B through G talk about whether or not there's a substantial deviation to the extent that there are additional regional impacts. So regional impacts mean anything that's happening outside the resort. So in terms of transportation, are there impacts going from one side of Highway 98 to the other side of the Highway 98 in terms of a, quote, regional impact? The applications that are pending before you do not shift. There's no increase in density in RDUs, no increase in commercial entitlements, no increase in club, no increase in resort services, no increase in administration, and there is a limitation that has been proposed by the applicant that there will be no transfer of density under the transfer of density exhibits in your book. There will be no transfer of density from one side of the road to the other. We have a two-page traffic report Ms. Mary Morgan wrote saying that based on those conditions of not transferring density and not increasing it, then there are no impacts on Highway 98, therefore no regional impacts, and she is here to testify today as well as to her opinion. I've read FDOT's letter, and in terms of their traffic consultant, Kimberly Horn, who I understand is here today, can speak to that issue, but in terms of the traffic report that the staff provided us that Sandestin Owners Association obtained back in June of 2014 does not deal with external trips. It deals with internal, and nothing from the statute for your determination on regional impacts has anything to do with internal traffic circulation. And so I would suggest to you that that would not be an appropriate consideration for the board, and I would appreciate you hearing all the testimony today. Thank you.
Greg Stewart, Neighbors Gibbon Nickerson, representing Walton County staff. It is staff's position that a transportation analysis is essential to evaluate this application. We believe that the changes that are being proposed here will in fact have regional impacts. A lot of these land use changes, there's impacts of road closures that have occurred over the time. They affect the internal capture rate, the rate that they capture within the development itself. It creates new impacts on 98. We go to 98, we see what the impact of this development is. What we really need is a thorough analysis so we can evaluate those changes, what we can and cannot do. So we would strongly recommend that you request the transportation analysis, as DOT has done, under a joint cost-sharing approach, to bring that to you so you have the tools and the information to make a decision in this matter. We think that hearing testimony, though we appreciate everyone's attendance here, may be premature because we think the transportation analysis may reveal additional issues that would in fact change what would be presented. As to the Jolie Island issue, the particular change that is proposed for the E2 change is to take property that is now treated as open space to convert it to a use that would then be subject to development. We do not believe that should be considered until the compliance issues of open space are solved. Why would we eliminate open space that's within the development until we have solved the open space problem? So staff's position is that the motion is appropriate, that a transportation analysis is crucial, and we would ask the board's support.
Mr. Stewart, I just have one question. Would the delay in time in taking testimony affect any time periods under the statute?
We have held the hearing. I think we can continue to a future
So we
date.
can continue it without, okay.
Call the question.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to continue this. Do we need a date certain, or? Because
We're not going to know until they get the traffic
Because we've
study
got to
done.
ask
Yeah,
the board to, contact DOT. Is that part of your motion, to contact DOT?
Yeah, part of my motion would be to have the
Because they've asked. us
DOT
to- yeah.
facilitate a joint transportation analysis that identifies transportation impacts that have not been addressed, along with the needed improvement to regional transportation facilities. The last paragraph in DOT's letter.
Okay.
And Commissioner, let me do this. Because of advertising costs and concerns, what I would propose is that we do continue it to a date certain, which would be the same fourth Thursday in March. That way, at 8:30.
That's 60 days?
Is that, yeah,
You might want to go a little more than that.
You want to go to April, I think.
Can we do 9 o'clock?
You're going to need,
yeah.
April would be, I think, just the coordination with 3 agencies, with the applicant.
I think you're going to April. Yeah.
And I also would like point of information on the motion. When Ms. Meadows refers to a joint transportation analysis, who's paying for it, and who are the joint parties that she's intending? Well, I would understand that.
I think Ms. Renee can answer that. I think they've had a conversation.
Renee Bradley, Walton County Planning. I spoke with Virgie Bowen yesterday afternoon, and what they would like to do is come present to the board the need for the traffic analysis, and their intent is for us to do a partnership with Sandestin Investments, the county, and FDOT, that we all pay a portion of this analysis. And they would like to come and do a presentation to the board or even a workshop with the board for the need for this. It being that we're not getting the traffic analysis from the applicant, that's the only choice that's left to them at this point.
Renee, I guess, and I don't want to speak for the board, but given at this point there's a motion to continue to grab one or to have one done, I don't think we'd need a workshop, for the need for it. So I think we'll just go ahead and order it. And to answer Mr. Matthews' question, assuming SEI is not going to voluntarily enter into the cost sharing, I think the county would have to foot the bill at this point.
I'm sorry, Mr. Osborne.
I don't think we can make them.
She's already called for the question.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
Wait a minute.
I think it's a determination between, do they want to be involved in the traffic analysis?
If they do, then
And
they
so
can help
then I
pay
think
for it.
they have to pay for it.
Right.
If they don't, then,
Yeah, and Commissioner, I know the question's been called, but I want to get the date settled down because.
okay, I'll do a date certain.
Yeah.
April, which would be the fourth Thursday in April, 2016.
28th at
April
9 o'clock.
28th at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Because the 21st, I was looking at the 21st, but I think there's FAC meeting at that time, and there's a Gulf Consortium meeting, which I will have to attend, so that would take 2
Yep, that's my
out.
motion, yeah.
So,
Thank you.
the 28th, okay. Point of order, or what, Mr. Osborne has his hand up. She's called for the question. What do I do?
We need to vote.
We have to
We have,
vote. We need
we
to
have a
vote.
motion, second on your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting will be continued to April the 28th at 9 o'clock.